my name is Rebecca Campbell, and today I'm going to be presenting a hydrogel actuated microneedle for wound healing applications. A little bit about me. I got my bachelor's in physics from Lebanon Valley College and my master's in electrical engineering from Temple University. I recently moved to USF with my current advisor, Dr. Albert Kim, to finish my PhD here. So on to the fun stuff. So chronic wounds impact over 6.5 million individuals annually in the United States. Expenditures on this exceed $25 million. So a chronic wound is any wound that will not heal on its own for one reason or another. So some conditions such as poor circulation, neuropathy, diabetes, difficulty in moving, and repeated mechanical force or stress can cause a regular wound to become a chronic wound. In a situation such as diabetic foot ulcers, we currently have a kind of 4-stage process to treat a chronic wound. So stage 1 is antibiotics and offloading. Offloading is the process of applying braces or bandages to remove that stress from a wound. If that were to fail, we are to move on to stage 2, where we use medicine to target MMPs that degrade healthy tissues within the wound, and then physical debridement, which is the act of going in and surgically removing that necrotic tissue from the wound itself. If that were to also fail, we move on to stage 3, which is a biological method, such as injecting collagen into the wound. And unfortunately, if that were to fail as well, our last stage is amputation. In the case of diabetic foot ulcers in particular, you're looking at stage 4, where amputation has to occur anywhere from 75 to 85% of the time. So unfortunately, chronic wounds that do make it all the way to amputation are not an uncommon occurrence. So let's look at how a wound heals, right? The unwounded flesh on your skin has a slightly acidic pH, and a chronic wound will have a basic pH. And this is important for several reasons. The first is the more basic pH will allow bacteria to thrive and increase the likelihood of infection. The second is because as the wound heals, it moves from that basic environment to a more acidic environment. It allows us to see, so to speak, where we need to be focusing our treatment in that more basic area. So the hand patch is specialized to read the pH of an area and determine if that needs more treatment. So what the hand patch will do, sense the pH, deliver microneedles downward, as you can see here, individually based on the pH. And then as the wound heals, retract back up into its patch. So this is a device you'll be able to apply like a Band-Aid. So to achieve this, we use 2 main functional groups. The first is a hydrogel, and the second is a microneedle. So a hydrogel is a biosafe platform that is commonly used in medical applications. And they're super cool because they can be engineered to do all kinds of things. Anything from being a receptor for certain proteins to actuators like we're doing here. Now, our hydrogel features a polymer chain, which will collapse in on itself in an acidic environment and then expand in a basic environment. So we're able to get a hydrogel and affix a microneedle to it. Then when it's introduced to higher pHs, it'll begin to expand, taking all that pressure and forcing the microneedle upward and allowing us to extrude our microneedle. And the reverse, as the hydrogel resumes to its pH neutral position and even its slightly underswelled acidic state, you'll see that microneedle attract. Now, the microneedle side of things will allow for near painless therapy to be delivered, as the microneedles are too short to reach the nerves underneath the skin. So to create something like this, it's a 3D printed structure of a series of cells. So we'll be looking at one cell today, but this is arranged in an array. So each cell will be filled with hydrogel and have a microneedle affixed to it using a MPS procedure, which is a chemical adherence based off of the structure of the hydrogel. Now, once the microneedle has been attached, a stopper is added. This is a redundancy built in case we lose that attachment point with the hydrogel and the microneedle becomes unfunctional, we would like it to stay within the device. We do not want a microneedle just floating in the wound. That would cause more problems than it would solve. Now, once we have created a single cell, we can put them into an array and deposit the array into our patch. Each cell, though, needs to be pre-soaked, where we submerge it in DI water and allow this pre-soak procedure to take place. Basically, the hydrogel is going to absorb the water, and it'll allow us to know that all of the data I will show you next is solely from the pH change. This is not due to the hydrogel absorbing any water that is within our pH solution. The microneedles are also 3D printed via lithography and able to be affixed onto the microneedle platform. Now, the results, the fun part. We wanted to look at two key factors. The first is force. Are we able to get a microneedle to have enough force with it that it can go through the tissue? So we did the calculations and found that 250 millinewtons of force are needed to be able to get through the unbroken skin. Obviously, that's a little overkill since we will be in an open wound, but we want to always plan for worst case scenario. So we tested 3 different microneedle designs, each featuring a different side width. So top down, they are all squares. We have a 2x2 square, a 3x3 square, and a 4x4 square. All of them have a fixed height of 2 millimeters. Now, with that in mind, you'll see here from the data, only one of the microneedles was able to achieve that 250 millinewton force threshold. But at least one of them did, so that is a good sign. So moving forward, we then wanted to look at our swelling ratios. Using those same 3 microneedle designs, we developed a swelling test. So both of the samples were left in pH 10 for 90 minutes. And as you can see here, over time, the microneedle did manage to extrude from the surface. And we wanted to know and quantify how much that was and how fast it was going. So here we have our 3 microneedles. And once again, we have seen that that 2x2 is performing the best. So that would be the size we would move with going forward. Now, obviously, this is a prototype work. There's more that needs to be done with it to be able to quantify the reversibility of such design, though we know the hydrogel itself can expand and contract pretty much without significant change. We need to be able to confirm that in its device setup, we have no additional failures. In addition to this, we need to develop the drug delivery system that would be stored underneath the hydrogel layer so that we could then deliver treatment directly into the wound. Thank you for your time and thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed.